What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well today, and welcome to the jungle. No pun intended. We are at the Jungle Motocross facility, created by Matt Plar with a bit of help from Mr. Jackie Moon as well. We'll get that into that a little bit later. This is a track that is going to be released on the shop coming up this Friday, so very, very privileged to get a little bit of early access to this to show it off to you guys. It's something that he's been working on for quite some time now. I've managed to see all of the behind the scenes in the track making Discord and any like problems he's had to overcome. Very, very pretty track as well. You don't really see many jungly type tracks in this game. The only one that really comes to mind is Madagascar, created by JV. However, this one gives me more of like a 45 Palms vibe from MXOSA TV Alive. I love that we've got a working waterfall here. It kind of snakes its way down in between all the track. Really, really nice. Got a little capybara island over there. We know the Motomart boys love their capybaras, and we've also got one just riding a shark, you know, letting the wildlife interact. And there's some things on this track that, to the person just playing it, you'd have no idea how much grief it caused. However, I know full well that this helicopter right here, trying to get the rear blades to line up and spin in the right direction, caused Matt Plar a lot of stress and headache, so I'm very happy for him that he's finally got it all working as intended. Now, let's just hop into it, so I'm not just waffling, and we'll discuss the rest of it as we go. If you've been putting off buying that new MX gear, or you're just looking for some new daily MX related clothing, then head on over to fxrracing.com. Code MXPR_Lins15 at checkout will give you 15% off all motocross and lifestyle products. This code is applicable to the European, Swedish and Norwegian websites, not Canada or the USA. And whilst I've got your attention, you may as well subscribe to the channel. It's just one click of a button and it puts a big old smile on my face. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Right, so we are going to be sticking with the same like gear and bike colorways that I had in the last video. I actually really enjoy it. I think I got so lucky that I managed to have a gear colorway that kind of matches this bike, and so many people seem to agree in the last video that this bike is very nice. So also shout out Mr. Fatty Matty for making it in the first place. He did comment saying thank you for using it. No problem at all, sir. Yeah, like go and I mean, I'll put the link in this video as well. But let's get into things a little bit. So, this track right here, I have been in talks with Mr. Matt Plar himself. So the outdoors or motocross part of this jungle facility is all made by him. I've seen behind the scenes, I've seen him making it. Really impressive stuff. The Supercross part of this is made by Mr. Jackie Moon, who I'm sure a bunch of you have already ridden tracks by. He does a lot of Supercross tracks in this game. He's part of the Motomart team, the same as Matt Plar is, so I'm sure they're good friends, get on well. So it's a kind of like a collaborated effort. Matt Plar did inform him that he wanted him to make a very beginner-friendly Supercross track, and he said that his goal for this facility overall was something where the kind of beginner to intermediate level riders can try and like bridge the gap to then hopefully progress on to the aerial sort of thing. So be very cool. Be interesting to see how it rides over. Oh, I definitely scrubbed that too hard. Noticing it's a very wide track so far, so a lot of speed is going to be had around here. And like I said in the intro as well, it's definitely gives me those 45 Palms kind of vibes. That is huge. Okie dokie. That is either an inside roll or an outside absolute send. We will try and remember to send that next lap. That will be quite good fun to try and hit that big boy. And what is the... So obviously 45 Palms track from Alive. What's the other one? Because on Alive they had like... Every like region or sort of environment had two different nationals tracks combined. They kind of utilised different layouts. I can't remember for the life of me what the other one was. I know majority of you guys can let me know just off the top of your heads, but it's, maybe I'm just showing my age. It's that long ago since I played Alive at all. One of them games that I always wanted to get working on an emulator, but I could never get it to work properly. You'd always have like awful shadows, or the game just wouldn't run properly at all, which is a shame because it's one of my favourite MXOSA TV games of all time, probably only second to Reflex, to be honest. I had so many hours in Alive, it's actually unreal. But in terms of the jungle theme, I really like it. I do like the brighter and kind of... It's definitely a more unique vibe, you know? It's not your traditional motocross track by any means. It's definitely wide open. It's very fast. It's very wide. I have no reason to believe that 40-man gates on this track wouldn't work well. You know, I think there's room for absolutely everyone. Of course, I would still find some way to become a bike magnet. But you know what? That's just how she goes sometimes. Sometimes she goes, sometimes she doesn't. It just happens to be that a lot of the time for me that it doesn't. So I might as well use this opportunity whilst we're riding around here learning the motocross track to talk about my own track building ventures as of late. Some of you may know I've mentioned on stream, I had the idea in my head of creating a track called Linderland, which would be a kind of compound slash facility type vibe, having one of everything: motocross, supercross, enduro, like turn track, freestyle, all that good stuff. However, it became quite apparent to me fairly early on in the process when I started building it that when it comes to custom elevations, so like custom height maps, so you can see we're on this track, we're kind of going up and down hills all over the place, I'm very, very bad at that. And I started in Photoshop trying to do it, didn't go well at all. Moved over to random like online websites with random height map generators, couldn't really get anything that I kind of liked the look of. I then moved over to, hang on, let's see if we can send this big boy real quick. Then moved over to Blender. Please get it, downside it. Lovely, that's so sketchy, you gotta be quite very, very precise there. Then move over to Blender, because there is an add-on in Blender that gives you random generated height maps too. But again, just couldn't manipulate it in a way that I enjoyed. So then I kind of thought, okay, this isn't really going to plan, let's try and think of a whole another concept. So then I thought of making a Forest 2.0. So trying to replicate the stock Forest track as closely as I possibly can. Not adding in too much in terms of difference, but like refacing some of the jumps to make some of them like a little bit bigger maybe. Adding some ruts, adding some bumps here and there. And just make it like a more intermediate version of the track that we all know and love. However, trying to replicate something that already exists, I think, might be harder than making something from scratch. Like, it's so difficult to look at the track and go, okay, this is this. In terms of visuals and stuff, it's no problem at all. Very easy, very straightforward. And getting like the actual floor plan of the track wasn't difficult. I literally went in game, went above the track, took a screenshot, and I could draw out the path in Photoshop, and I had the overlay there ready to go. The issue is when it comes to the elevation. Trying to get the elevation really precise is so difficult. So I'm going to have to try and find another way of going about doing that. I have messaged Mr. Barboso to see if I could get the height map for it. I've heard nothing back as of yet, so we'll see if how long that takes to get it, if I get it at all. So we'll watch this space. So then I thought, right, these last two projects have been an absolute disaster. Why don't I just try doing Supercross? Because there's no like elevation in Supercross unless you're playing Elevated SX, of course. Cheeky little plug for the last video. Thank you for all the views on that, by the way. That one done really well. Although there was a lot of debating going on in the comments, which I won't get into. I don't want to kind of re-spark all of that. So I thought, yeah, nice flat track. Just slap some singles here, there, and everywhere. I went on to the MX Simulator forums and downloaded a couple of different jump and berm templates. Soon realised that they really do not work in bikes whatsoever. Just the scaling is all completely different. So then I started going about building my own. I got a really good single and a really good berm that I was happy with. But I can't quite get my like on-off tables to be building as I would like so far. So far I've got a semi-done MX Bike Supercross template. I just need to do like a wall jump, an on-off, and then an actual Supercross triple as well, and a whoop section, to be fair. So actually I've got a long way to go, ignore me. So yeah, I'm just working on a bunch of different things at once, really, rather than one specific thing. So watch this space, who knows, maybe in another couple of months you might get another track from me, no idea. Alright, so if we go back to this track now, rather than talking about my own stuff, very easy, like really straightforward. And I think as soon as you're kind of run 5 to 10 laps and you know the track layout, you know how fast you need to hit all these jumps, I think you'll have no problem just spinning lap after lap around this place. So it's very beginner to intermediate level, as Matt Blas said, so he's definitely achieved his goal there in doing what he set out to do. And I feel like if I was just to ride around this now without getting to see behind the curtain, I wouldn't kind of realise how much time and effort goes into these things. Even as far as like track optimization, like I've got no FPS issues at all around here, but he was even going as far as asking like how to make the file sizes as small as possible, how to make everything perform better, and lots of technological terms that I myself am not too clued up on, because I'm not the biggest computer guy in the world. But instead of having like one picture per tree, for example, or one texture so you see what a tree looks like, you have like a massive sheet with them all combined together, so there's less things that have to be loaded in game. Again, saves optimization, saves frames. So I know that a lot of time and effort has gone into this to make it overall as good in every department as it possibly can be. For me, I think it'll be fun to host some 40-man lobbies. Again, I'll probably end up still getting taken out, even though the track is more than wide enough for 40 people. Other than that, I'd be interested to see how the erode goes around here. There's no real point testing the erode solo because it never ruts up the same. It'd be interesting to see what these ruts kind of form like and see if there's much rough on the jump faces too, because it's very, very wide open everywhere. And I think when it comes to racing around here, if you know what the fast lines are, there's going to be so like little gap from one person to another. You're going to have some really, really intense races, which do work well on custom, like fancy tracks like this. And I think in regards to the scaling, where everything's so fast and wide open, it gives me like Reflex custom track vibes, because everything on Reflex does seem to be 100 miles an hour too. So I can definitely see this appealing to the more beginner to intermediate audience of the game for sure. And I think, what have we done now? We've spun... Oh, this is only lap 4 that I'm on. Oh, well, I mean, there you go. The track is, even though it's wide open, it's actually quite a long lap time, looking up just over 2 minutes. I'm sure you can get quite close to that 2-minute mark. I have no idea if I've even done a lap without crashing yet. We'll probably not. I never usually do in these, but I like recording them raw and getting like just raw gameplay and feedback from the tracks. I don't like sitting there like playing a track for 10 or so laps to learn it all beforehand, because then I feel like the excitement's gone, you know. I don't get as much enjoyment out of recording them and doing that afterwards. I'd much rather do it all at the same time. And like I said in the last video, if I don't ride the track the best, it shouldn't be a negative thing, because the whole point of these videos is just to slightly showcase a track to you that then you guys hopefully go out and play and get to learn yourself and find all the fast lines that I might not discover during my like 20 minutes or so. So that is the motocross track right there. Let's go over to this supercross track and see just how beginner friendly it was actually made. Rightio, which way do we want to go off the start? I think this will be the right direction. A hell of a long start straight. That might even be a 4th gear. I think on Supercross usually the max we get to is about 3rd gear on these 450s. So let's see what this is all about then. We go little triple into the corner. It looks like straight off the bat there's a good amount of spacing in between each of the obstacles. So if we go from on to off and then the gap between the single and the next single after it, there's lots of room for error. So I don't think you've got to be super precise. Berm's quite mellow. One thing that does usually destroy me on Jackie's tracks are the whoops. However, those seem a lot easier than whoop sections of his I've played in the past. So hook a little right here over the finish line. Oh, going to come up a bit short. Please don't give me a weird bounce. Thank you. We come round to the right, back round to the left, into another whoop section. That could be a little bit tricky. Just trying to hit the whoops straight after coming out of a corner. Let's wheelie over that. We can go triple. Can we quad? Maybe. I think if I stay a little bit lower over the jump before that, there's a possibility of a quad there. But I did come up very, very short. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Survive. Thank you. Alright, let's go on, off. So back end got caught up there, you saw in the landing. I didn't land it clean, still managed to get up and over it no problem. So far, it seems to be sticking to what they set out to do, is make just quite a beginner to intermediate level facility for everyone to improve their skills on. Let's get round to the right again. Can we jump a bit further this time, downside it nicely? Lovely. Oh god. Right, so what I want to make sure happens here, you want your bike to be as straight as possible before you hit those whoops, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. Let me see if I can hit this quad. So you want to wheelie up and over that, scrub the triple a bit lower. Oh, I did over jump it. I don't know. Maybe if you get a little bit of like a lucky bounce slash suspension compressing in just the right way, you could huck that and go quad all the way over, but I think it might just be triple and then over the tabletop rather than anything else. Same as I don't think you'd be able to quad into this section at all. I think it would be a case of stepping over to the tabletop. I do think it's got a nice flow to it though. There's no sections where there's one thing particularly catching me out. You know, even if you get it a little bit wrong, you can recover and kind of regain and then hit a little triple halfway through, which is something that in my Supercross building ventures so far, really hard to get the jump faces right to where things aren't so peaky that you have to be absolutely pixel perfect all the time. But then also make it where if you do mess up ever so slightly, you can get back into a rhythm, which to be fair, it's a bit of a fault of this game that there's no good like seat bounce mechanic at all. It's all just momentum based. There are things that you can do to extend the amount of time you're in the air for, but in terms of like an actual seat bounce to fully compress the suspension and get as much like height and distance as you can, doesn't exist, which is the reason why a lot of the time you'll find the quickest way around the Supercross track in any race is just always rail the corners through their entirety. It's what makes passing really difficult. so you can't really cut down and try and drive and hit a different rhythm to anyone else. It's just one of them unique characteristics of MX bikes, which I would love to be fixed. But I think it all stems from the root cause of, like, you have to maintain really good, like, perfect traction from back wheel to track. Like, if you try and steer the bike with the back wheel like they do in IRL, you know, they'll slam on the back brake a little bit, spin the back end round in a bold turn to cut down. Can't do that in this game. I mean, you can do it, it's just not fast in the slightest, and a lot of the time it ends up impeding you, and you won't even be able to hit like the triple out the corner that you normally would be able to. So a few frustrations there. I definitely have a love-hate relationship with Supercross. Love riding around it by myself. Like, I could spin laps around here for hours on end without getting bored. However, when it comes to race time, and then you've got 21 other people on the track also trying to take the exact same line as you in very close proximity, yeah, it can get a little bit frustrating. But it is what it is. It's, we learn to deal with it to the best of our ability, until maybe one day we get a game update that kind of fixes that. Although that would be such a massive change. I think if we quad it, it's going to be this lap. No, didn't get it. I thought I downsided that initial triple as good as I possibly could there. Still wasn't able to get it, so no quad in that section, unfortunately. Don't think there's anything quadable through this next one. That's unfortunate. Unless you can maybe downside it and apex the corner really well, low line here, and then maybe seat bounce this quite far, but again, I think that's going to be quite a stretch. So definitely beginner to intermediate level Supercross. So for any of you guys that keep asking me what's a good track to kind of start Supercross on, this is definitely one of them. I know some people are going to be scared away because it's behind a paywall, but unfortunately, if you want these kind of high-quality tracks that are a bit unique, a bit different, where kind of every aspect has been looked into, like, I'm pretty sure that he went out of his way, Matt Pla, to buy custom tree models as well, because I've never seen half of these, like palm trees or just other trees and flower models and all sorts. I've never seen them on any other track. That helicopter in the back looks pretty badass as well. Like, I feel like it was probably much more pain than he wanted to go through to get that all working correctly. But overall, really, really cool, very, very unique, and a lovely addition to my game. Thank you very much, sir. And with Matt Pla, he doesn't kind of create. Oh, actually. There you go, you can kind of count that as a quad, if you will. I know a lot of people don't count tabletop as a 2, they count it as a 1 still, because it's one feature. But I consider it as a quad, because it's the length of 2 singles as such. So there you go, there is a quad in this track for you big line boys. I think that's probably going to do it for me. I hope you've certainly enjoyed this video. I've definitely enjoyed creating it and playing on this lovely, unique place. Yeah, keep an eye out for it this Friday. It will be on the store. I don't know what time on Friday. That's just the day I've been told, so keep an eye out for it. If you're watching this before Friday, sorry, no track link, of course, yet. If you're watching this after Friday, I probably haven't remembered to go back in time and update the description for the track, so just go on the store and search for it, I guess. I'm going to love you and leave you. Please do drop a like, comment, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you're new. Would really appreciate it to help a brother out. And have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're up to. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.